What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about WARDOGS. This is an upcoming game that I have been following developments on for a little while, but I have yet to make a video talking about it. And now that we got yet another update from them, another video from them, I thought it was time to finally share my 2 cents on this and also just kind of spread the word on this game. Keeping in mind this is not a sponsored video or anything, I haven't had any contact with the devs. It's just something I'm genuinely interested in and wanted to talk about here on the channel. And with this, just for a high-level overview of what this game is actually about, it's a large-scale, all-out warfare-style game where 3 teams of 100 players total in a match. I don't know exactly how they're splitting that between 3 teams because there will be 1 player left over, but they do describe it as a 100-player match with 3 teams. We'll be fighting in a large-scale, sandbox-style war zone. And it looks like there's going to be a wide variety of playstyles and things that you can do. So there's ground vehicles, aerial vehicles, infantry combat. We've got destruction in there, base building. And they do mention it is a tactical shooter, at least to some degree. However, they actually made a little scale here. And they do describe it as being more tactical than Battlefield and then obviously Call of Duty, but not quite as tactical and a bit more on the arcadey side when compared to Tarkov or Arma. So with this, there's that big combat zone that the 3 teams are all fighting within. And they do mention there's also no squad spawns like Battlefield, so you have to actually get yourself into combat or catch a ride on a helicopter or something or on a vehicle to get yourself into combat. And the main differentiating factor here, the big hook about this game, is it's all about earning cash. And from what they've shown, you earn cash by doing essentially anything that benefits the team or contributes toward the team play in any way. So obviously earning kills will get you cash, reviving players gets you cash, successfully piloting teammates into the war zone, that gets you cash as well. If you drop them off successfully, you get cash for that. And then apparently any kills that they get, you also get a small percentage of the cash for that as well. And there's a whole lot more you can do to earn cash as well. Again, like I said, basically any action you perform that contributes toward the team play is earning you cash. And so it's really all about letting players pick exactly how they want to play and approach a match. You can do whatever you want role-wise or playstyle-wise and still be rewarded for it by earning cash for doing those things. And then with that cash, you use that to buy all of the parts of your kit. So it looks like for every life, you got to buy your gun, your ammo, your armor if you want, a helmet, any pieces of equipment or gadgets that you want. You purchase all of that with the cash that you've earned, and you take that in for that life. And the key with that is when you die, you lose all of those items that you took into the battle with you. So there is that balance of risk versus reward. You want to get out there and get those kills and perform those actions to earn the cash, but there's a chance you end up spending more on your kit than you earn with that kit in that life, so you may end up losing money in that life rather than gaining money. Now in the past, they've also outlined that outside of the matches, there's also a whole economy system with that cash and gold bars, and you can build in-game businesses outside of like the direct gameplay itself, and you can buy and sell items and set the price on items, and there's an entire in-game economy. But they were also very clear that you don't need to interact with any of these systems. If you want to just dive in and shoot things and play the game, you can do that. All of these other systems are just for those players that really want to min-max everything. But it looks like there's going to be a ton of depth when it comes to their economy in the game. And that's basically the higher level overview of this game. Obviously, there's a lot more details that go into this. It is worth noting they did also confirm there will be a console version coming to this game. And at the moment, they're currently doing some closed play tests where they are involving some community members, but it is an invite-only closed system. And as of right now, it appears they're aiming to launch early access for this at least within 2026. So by the end of the year, early access should be available to everyone. And then one last element I wanted to mention here before I dive into my thoughts on things so far based on what we've seen is they have made it very clear in their build-up for this game that this game is not built for everyone. They're not designing it to be a Battlefield killer. It's not designed to appeal to the masses. And they recognize that. They're not chasing trends. They're not trying to dethrone the current kings of the market or anything. They're just trying to be their own thing, be unique, and carve out their own niche and really appeal to that niche of players. And it's great to see that they're setting those realistic expectations for things. Because a lot of games these days, it seems like they're just trying to be the new top dog. And in doing so, they often just chase trends and try to copy things that are already out there, thinking they're going to somehow dethrone the established IPs out there. So it's refreshing to see that that's not what they're aiming to do with this game. They're just trying to create a great game that a certain subset of FPS players will be really into, and then lean heavily into supporting those players. And when it comes to my overall thoughts based on everything I've seen with this so far, I think it is really refreshing to see something truly unique coming to the FPS genre. As I've said, there's so many games out there that are coming in trying to be a battle royale or an extraction shooter, or even just following trends with a traditional multiplayer style shooter, like trying to be a Battlefield clone or a COD clone, for instance, or a hero shooter, where it's basically just the same thing we've seen before many, many times over, but with their own little unique take on it. Instead, from the ground up, this is quite a unique experience that they're building. And you might be saying, oh, this is just taking heavy inspiration from the King of the Hill mod for Arma, but it turns out the creator of that King of the Hill mod is on the dev team. So this is sort of taking that to the next level and turning it into its own thing with that cash economy system. And I really find the idea of this cash system to be quite interesting, and I think it is going to be that big hook for a lot of people that keeps them coming back for more. And along with that, I think it's excellent to see tangible rewards for everything you do, essentially, that helps the team. So you can go in and just want to slay out and kill other players. That's great. Or maybe you just want to fly a helicopter. Maybe you just want to transport your teammates. Maybe you want to build a base and not really focus too much on the gun-on-gun combat. It looks like there's just so many things you can do and so many ways to approach the game, and you'll still be rewarded for it. It's not just rewarding those slayers that are going in and dominating the enemy team. I also like that the cash system is introducing some extra stakes to a life that you don't see in a game like Call of Duty or Battlefield unless you're playing Battle Royale, for instance. But at the same time, those stakes aren't as high as what you'd see in an extraction shooter or a Battle Royale, so it seems to be a nice middle ground between the two. And so far, I'm very intrigued by this game, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands on it and seeing how it plays and everything. But in saying that, there's still a lot of unknowns. I think right now, the biggest thing I really want to see about this game is an actual full match. I want to see what it looks like from start to finish, or honestly, even just a full life from start to finish. So from the moment you spawn in, what does the entire process look like? Going in, buying your gear. I know they've shown some brief clips and screenshots, but I want to see like raw, live gameplay of an entire life from start to finish. You get transported in, or maybe you can walk into the zone. I don't really know where you end up in combat. How long does that actually take? How long does a full match last? What do the objectives look like? How does the scoring work? All of this stuff is very important to really see what it's going to be all about. And then another key thing is, what is the gunplay actually going to feel like? Based on the clips, it looks pretty promising, but it's often hard to gauge how gunplay actually feels until you get your hands on it and are controlling the character for yourself. And that's especially true for controller players. Although for this game, it looks like it's going to be more of a mouse and keyboard heavy game. I think I'm going to be leaning into mouse and keyboard for it rather than controller. But those questions are still up in the air. And then I think another really important consideration with this cash system in place is, what does the game look like if you get to the point where you have $0? You lose all of your money. What are your options? What does the gameplay look like? Is that going to be something that immediately turns you off the game? Does it just make the game that much harder and make it so you end up in a cycle where it just feels like you can't dig yourself out of that hole? I think that is an important consideration, because there are tons of FPS players that are really passionate. They really have fun playing FPS games and they enjoy them, but they're just not very good at them. I mean, for every like 2+ KD player out there in an FPS game, there are several other people that almost never get more kills than deaths in a match. And in some cases, they get twice as many deaths as kills in a match consistently, and yet they still want to play the game. They're still invested and want to play. And so I am curious to know, like, what does that discrepancy look like if you are those players that are already having a hard enough time just getting kills, for instance? Is it going to be that much harder when you have no money? Or on the flip side, how much of an advantage does having a lot of cash give you on a moment-to-moment basis or a gunfight-to-gunfight basis? Does it give you a massive advantage over people that just don't have money or don't have much money? Essentially, my concern here is that we end up with a system where the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, to the point where the poor players just feel like they can never make any money over time and they can't really advance, and therefore they just disengage from the game entirely, leaving the game over time populated with only the best of the best players that have saved up a lot of cash. And then if you do end up in a situation like that, which many games do, how do you bring new players into that environment over time? It's important to make sure that you're bringing new players in to maintain a healthy player base, because players will always drop off over time, naturally. So I think that's definitely a big consideration and something that I just haven't seen any information on at this point. I'm sure that's likely something the devs are well aware of and are planning around to ensure that that doesn't get too extreme and the game isn't like unplayable when you have $0. But again, it's just something I'm very curious to see more on. And I think seeing some actual raw, full gameplay would really help provide some of that context. Overall, I'm really looking forward to seeing more about this game. Absolutely, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it. I will 100% be playing this game. However, to be completely honest, this looks like it's going to be quite a hardcore game that maybe requires a whole lot of time investment to get places long term at least and like really build up a lot of cash. And I have no idea if that's the type of game I'm going to be willing to spend tons and tons of time into. And that's okay. Even if it isn't the game for me long term, it's still really refreshing to see a studio build a game that isn't necessarily made for everyone, and instead just focus on making the best game they can for their player base. And this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about what we've seen so far when it comes to WARDOGS? Is this a game you're looking forward to? Do you plan on checking it out? Or maybe not so much? If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.